Oh man, I find myself just drifting off here. Well, let's just swap it and not worry about it. Oh man, yeah, I might have to do a short stream. I'm just zonked out. It looks like it's flipped in the x-axis is flipped in its computation. So let's flip it. Let's keep flipping stuff until it doesn't matter. I think one of the funniest things with some of this math is after a while you just kind of screw around with numbers and you get it working for what you're doing. And it's all kind of consistent in its own wrong way. So it's wrong enough that it gives you the right answer. One of the assignments we had in college with graphics was to create this. We're basically doing some math. We're doing our own rasterizers for something. I think it was like some oval drawing code where you had to draw an oval and fill it in, which is not as simple as you think. Doing it all in math stuff yourself, or it may have been like actual triangle rasterization. I don't remember, but I do remember I was working with one other guy, side by side, kind of. We were just doing our homework, and at one point we had gotten halfway through, and I had gotten one thing working properly, and he'd gotten another, and we're like, all right, well, I'll give you, this. Why the fuck didn't that work at all? No, it's our starting position is wrong as well. Is that what's going on? Top left. And well, the interesting thing was we were implementing all these things as we were going along. And he had finished one part and I had finished another, so I gave him in there. And what was really funny was his solution for one of the things dropped in and worked perfectly in my homework assignment. I was finished. And when he used my code in there, and none of his shit worked. And he's just like, what the hell? Like, how come, like, my stuff worked in your code and your stuff doesn't work in my code? And it was because, like, I had written the dot product formula wrong in my code, and I had, like, just screwed around with numbers and everything else, so everything else worked properly with this incorrect dot product. And it's just really funny. It's like the definition of the dot product is like wrong, and somehow you fix the rest of the map to work properly, and it just doesn't matter. And it's like, what the hell kind of screwed up universe are you working in? You're like, well, my own screwed up universe. Okay, so it's flipped. So what that means is we're flipping our position of our UV coordinates. So we have the correct steps and all this stuff. The problem is we're writing the texture to the wrong place. So what we want to do is we're going from 0 to 1. Actually, from 0 to 1, but we're actually we need to flip the U and the V here. So the output needs to be like it needs to be resolution x minus x. So it's going to go from like 512x. Is it the U coordinate that's wrong? I think so. Or is it the this Y coordinate here that's wrong? It's actually the Y coordinate, isn't it? In this texture. So it's resolution x minus y multiplied by resolution x. Let's see how that goes. That should flip that stuff around that axis properly. It's just one of those hilarious things. He's like, did you write the dot product wrong? And like, it was like, no. And he's like, this isn't the right thing at all. What the hell, dude? I'm just like, sorry. And it wasn't that I like gave him the dot product function or something like that, and that was the homework. It was like this crap that you had to do with it, and like this other mathematical gobbledygook. So basically, what he could fix the dot product or whatever, and all that, but it was like all this stuff built on top of it, 3 layers deep. So like all the stuff that I had was completely fucking garbage, and I was like, well, I'm done. Just like turned it in. He's like, you son of a bitch. and we actually hated each other. Like, I'm pretty sure. I know I didn't like him at all, and I'm pretty sure he didn't like me at all. So of course after college we ended up being roommates, even though we hated each other. It's kind of funny how you can actually have a functioning relationship where each person hates each other, and it doesn't really matter that much. It works just fine. And of course we have an off by 1 error because we don't want to have 512 minus blah. We want to have 511 minus blah, because off by 1 error. Arrays start at 0. So, math. Yeah, another thing that was really funny was one of my friends worked at Tryon and one of them worked at Petroglyph right after college. And if you know anything about the relationship between Tryon and Petroglyph, like End of Nations was a game that Tryon published but Petroglyph made. And I don't even know if End of Nations even ever released. Let me see if it did. It was being developed in-house by Tryon Worlds. It combines the aesthetics. Alpha began June that the game will be released. End of Nations is in limbo. No information has been provided to the alpha tester since August of 2013. Anyway, so Petroglyph was working on it forever, and I don't know what the hell happened after it got given back to Tryon. Is that correct? I need to make this thing semi-transparent, don't I? Wait a damn minute. It's a mirror. It's mirrored. Alright, let's just go back to what it was. The nice thing about working in the office is the occasional free food. I don't know. It depends on the office. Some offices have like nice free food. Other offices have just garbage free food. So it can be a blessing and a curse. Like, I was always really upset at Amazon when they brought in the sandwiches, because the sandwiches sucked. Alright, these are not mirrored. So I had screwed up that thing. So is that correct or not? I don't think it's correct. I think the curved parts are right there. So I think it's that the transform is wrong. It's got to be like this part up here. We need to, like, the top needs to be negative 50 and the bottom needs to be positive 50. Like I am famous for always having an opinion on something, and it's usually negative. So, like, you'd think, okay, we're having this. We go to this engineering meeting. Is the Amazon work culture as bad as the rumors say? I don't think so. We had like an engineers meeting, and the office manager gets sandwiches for everybody, and he goes to like a nice place and gets a build your own sandwich kit. So everybody gets, you get like a whole bunch of pieces of bread and a whole bunch of meat and nice tray so you can build your own sandwich. So everybody would go along and build their own sandwich, and I was just always upset at the free sandwiches because I thought they were crap. I mean, they're good ingredients, but I just thought they just weren't very good sandwiches. And so I'm there like just bitching about like, ah man, these sandwiches suck. And just it was really funny. One of these guys next to me, Dash, his real name, he's just like, dude, you can fucking complain about anything. You're here bitching about free food. Just like, oh god, your life is so awful. And I was like, these sandwiches are awful though. These are the worst things ever. And he's just like, God, such a fucking baby. It's like, yeah, I kind of am just a big whiner. As for the Amazon work culture, I mean, they had that whole like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or whatever article about how people are crying under desks and everything. Um, and I mean, yes and no, right? Like there are some places in Amazon that are like that are just awful. Amazon is gigantic. They have like over 300,000 employees. So I mean, they're basically a small country. Um, so to answer your question, I'd say there are definitely places in Amazon that are awful, like that. But there are also places that are really nice. Like we never were crying under our desks. Um, and as another example, at EA, they had people under desks locked up, in like 2006, and they had the whole EA wives lawsuit. So tech sector has always had a lot of abuse of employees. And I mean, one of the things, just look at like the Canadian high tech law in British Columbia, where if you're working as a programmer in like a tech firm, like a lot of the labor laws don't apply to you. So like literally, I've heard horror stories of the only reason that a company wouldn't like lock everybody in a building is because of the fire code. That's it. Like that's the only law protecting their employees from being literally locked into the building. Was just that, well, if it burned down, they'd all die. Had nothing to do with labor laws. Like no, according to labor laws, that's fine. But according to fire codes, they can't. So I'd say no. I'd say it's fine. Okay, so we have these things working properly. Let's see if we can rotate and then draw this still. So yeah, as you can see, we've got our rotation working properly for this thing. And that's looking correct. Let's see if we can rotate about this axis too. Nope. No rotation about that z-axis. Don't do it. Just don't do it, man. That's fine. That's totally fine. I am absolutely okay with that. A smallish profitable startup. You could probably make twice what you earn now if you moved, but I don't want to because my bosses are amazing. Well, if your bosses are amazing and you're profitable, why the hell aren't your bosses paying you more? They should be definitely able to pay you more unless they're not making that much money. So let's see if there's any crazy stuff that's happening as we move this around for our height map. And I would guess this has no collision on, so it's not showing up on the height map. And that is exactly true. That's why it's not showing up. So let's go over to this thing. Let's see. Let's construct the static height map for this guy. Look at that. We got our height map for all our stuff. So you can see where the shore is. We've got black. And is the height map... I'm wondering why we have this kind of bleeding going on. I would expect it to be black all the way up into those. It looks like we've got some issues where if we're already inside of an object that it's given us the wrong value. Let's take a look at that real quick. So if we actually have a hit, distance is 0. So distance divided by max step, so it would still be 0 for that alpha there. Max depth, it's going to be max depth divided by 256 for this thing. Let's see how that works. Well, yeah, that's pretty much how I've always been with all of my jobs, is I could always have quit my job, except for like right out of college, where it was just like, thank God I have a job. It's always been like, well, if I went and worked at Google or I went and worked at Facebook, I'd make more. Same thing with like Amazon. Where, you know, if I stuck around at Amazon, I would have, from Silicon Valley to Singapore, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But you're always going to have there's always that I'll take that job that's going to make more money, or am I going to have the job that I want? And it really depends on what you like doing. And the adage, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, is just absolutely true. Like, you're not going to leave a job because you're not making enough money, unless it's like real obvious. You know, like, I am not making enough money to live, or, you know, like you have a kid or something and you have to go put them through college or some bullshit. You know, that's a different sort of value system. But people leave managers, so if you got good managers, like, that's definitely something valuable. So let's see. So we're having problems here with this value. So you can see where our raycast isn't giving us anything when we're inside of these objects. So let's take a look at that code real quick. Let's see, are we ever starting penetrating? How come we can't put a breakpoint on this line? It may be that the ray trace doesn't actually detect if you're already inside of an object, and we'll have to mess with that a little bit. Yeah, first job, just glad that's a thing. My first job was EA. I got paid hourly. I got paid hourly in the games industry. I worked 80 hours a week. I was really, really happy that I had that. Not everybody is so lucky. The company had to get sued by a whole bunch of people to offer a sweet deal like that. But yeah, I'd also say like you should definitely shop around after a couple of years or whatever in your first job. You never know. You never know what else is out there. I know a lot of people who like they'll think that their job is amazing or that they're really lucky to have it or something, and then they'll move to another job and they'll just be like, "Holy crap, I was getting taken advantage of." You know, I was getting screwed um, by those guys and didn't even know it. I didn't even know how valuable I was as an employee. So this is never getting called. So let's follow it in there and see if there's anything that we can actually look there. Find initial overlaps is true. Your highest paid in the office already? Yeah. Well, Kento 456, you have to remember a manager represents the corporation, even if they're your friend, and it is his job to get the best deal for his corporation that he can, because corporations' jobs are to make money. So you asking for something that you should be given is not you being a dick. It is you just doing your job and at the negotiating table saying like, I think I'm worth more. So you're never being a dick if you're just like, I should be paid what I'm worth. You could be a dick by like leaving your company in the middle of something where they really need you, or not showing up to work and lying about it, or doing a shit job. Those are dick moves. Asking for what you're worth, that's just a reasonable move. Because who's it's it's just one of those things that you should, I believe. Let's see, where are we? Blocking hit, number of hits, delta mag, async, recast, blocking hits, hit async, B blocking hit. Convert recast results. I mean, is this thing ever actually going to return this start penetrating? Alright, so number of hits. God. I need to concentrate a little bit more. Let's Google this real quick. It may be that the ray trace just doesn't work. Although you're using a single trace, I recall when using multi-trace, the function returns true only if the trace has a blocking hit. With multi-trace, you can return false and still have overlap hit results. Maybe the single trace does that. If checking B blocking hit, start penetrating instead of the return value of the trace, so false expectation of the value is the issue. So raycast, output flags, get number of hits is 1, params. Yeah, trace complex is true, initial overlaps is true. Get hits. Alright, so we have the hits. Subview, UMV, flags position, base index, actor shape. Blocking hit false, world num hits. Convert raycast results. Convert query impact hit. So we have this P hit, new result. P hit had initial overlap, false. Yeah, it looks like we're never getting overlap stuff on ray traces, so maybe we should do a sweep or something? I remember seeing something like this before where we weren't getting any actual stuff properly coming back with ray traces, and we had to do a sweep instead. But this is doing a sweep multi-byte channel. Find initial overlaps is true. Come on, what? Alright, well let's just get us a easier test location here. You know, like one of these with a 1x1. And we're just gonna shove it inside of a thing, alright? So we should be impacting boulder blah 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 every single time. And this is default collision preset and everything. So the hits we impacted boulder 170533. Well, let's see. Is that this boulder? 5022. What is 33? So we should be hitting 240. But we're not. Okay, so it's probably this boulder. Let's get our water and let's move it a little bit more so it's definitely not going to hit anything else. So the hits, okay, we have one hit. It's on 170533. We're still hitting that fucking thing. Let's just turn off the collision for it. Alright, so this is 170533. Are you for real? Okay, it's this big rock. Okay, that's what we're hitting. Okay, that makes sense. And we aren't hitting this rock here. Let's make sure we have our correct collision here with terrain. It's 5033. Well, let's do an even easier test case. Let's just throw something out here where it will absolutely not collide with anything else. And let's make this thing bigger. Okay, so we've got it right there. Hits empty. Okay, so there we go. Ray trace is not working for us. For if we're already inside of an object. So line trace multi by channel. Let's see, trace complex, find initial overlaps is true. Ignore actors is just the one actor. Alright, so it's... Come on, Visual Studio, don't lock up on me. Alright, so raycast multi not working when inside object. Unreal. Lane trace not working when starting inside static. Alright, so but whenever my lane trace starts inside, I like this guy's comics that he wrote for his forum post. He's like, oh, start hit works, start hit in doesn't work. I'm digging through. There's a Boolean parameter trace complex. If you're expecting the raycast start inside and turn this on, thanks, that solved it. That definitely did not fucking solve it, because our query collision params is true, and that's not working at all. The hits are just all empty. I hadn't used forums since the mid 2000s. Yeah, I pretty much was never on forums. I mean, it's definitely that something is wrong here with the query params or something, like, because this makes no sense that we've got it all true, and so is there anything else that we're supposed to have? Like, I mean, we could have like return face index or something else there. I mean, let's just set this to true in code here and not trust the debugger to actually be doing the right thing. I like how I type in Unreal and I get results that point to Unity. Well, damn. We're not getting any response from this thing. We're not getting any sort of thing I could really work with. I mean, I could try a sweep test or something. Let's just try sweeping a sphere and see if that works. Because I think that was why we switched over to using sweeping stuff, even though the ray trace, like we ended up sweeping stuff even though ray trace is what we were using, was because the sweeps actually detected if you're inside of stuff properly and the ray traces didn't for some reason. When we were doing our previous movement code, or bitey running around, like just the ray traces didn't frickin' work, which is really annoying. You know, you'd expect documentation to not lie to you. Though I guess that's too much to ask for. Hits are empty as well. Is this thing working at all? Look, Erican, I am trying to debug why a few things aren't working properly for me here. Let's see, we need to sweep sphere and recompile this. Back to Codeland. Well, what we're doing right now is we are attempting to get our... We broke down how we're going to do our water and all that stuff. And right now we're trying to get our height map proper. And we're having trouble with when we're inside of an object with our ray trace, it's not returning anything. So I can't get a height map properly for when the water is inside of like rocks, which is always on the shore. You know, like it's kind of what you need. So I need to solve that problem because, you know, it's important. It's important to get that right. which is just obnoxious. Like, we've had this problem before with crap where it's like, okay, we're inside of an object, so the ray trace isn't returning properly, and it's like, well, give me something here, you know, like, grr. Yeah, see, the hits are all empty for all this stuff. So we can see that thing down there. Kind of, if we're inside of it like this. We get this sort of thing, right? Which is absolutely not correct. And according to the documentation, this should work. Like, I mean, I could set this to movable and all this crap. It shouldn't have any difference on it. Yeah, it's very obvious that all my traces are working. It's just that the when we're inside of an object, it's not doing what it should. Oh, alright, let's just look at the movement utils class that I put together and see if there's anything else that we're doing which could have done some of this stuff. We have like sweep component sdir is what we're using for absolutely everything. So if we go to the physics utils, sweep component sdir, trace complex is true, physics trace tag is there, add ignored actor. I mean, we got nothing going on here. Well, let's see if turning off the complex ray trace actually does anything. So, sweep not returning proper hits when inside object and real. And we've had this problem before, just these ray traces don't do what we want, and we got to do a bunch of shenaniganery to figure it out. It was real dumb. It's real dumb. maximum stupid. Okay, so if you turn off complex tracing, you get hits when you're inside of an object. The exact opposite of what the docs say happens. Wow. All right, that's fucking amazing. I mean, come on. Jesus Christ. This is so dumb. This is so stupid. Why do you write documentation if it's literally the opposite of what is true? Fuck. So I think there are other issues that have to do with this as well. So the problem is we do need to trace against complex collision, but we also need to know if we're inside of an object. So we're going to have to trace twice. I'm pretty sure that's the only way for us to do this is to trace twice, which is really stupid. But, you know, it really doesn't matter how stupid it is. We need the right answer, so... Stupidity be damned.